How would you describe like what the purpose of today was for these guys, and why this group?
Yeah, I think it was kind of two parts to it. One, there's a bit of an orientation to it. These are players that we think highly of, that we hope in time will play here, and so from a facility standpoint, staff standpoint, some of our programs, there's an opportunity for us to introduce that to them, and hopefully take a little bit of the kind of learning curve, shorten that up a little bit when the time comes that they're in the big leagues. And then I think on the other side it was just the opportunity for some development. And really that's two ways. And I think there were have been some good conversations from a leadership standpoint, from a preparation standpoint. But one of my favorite parts so far has been the ability for us to get some feedback from them and what their takeaways have been in their time in our system, and things that we can better help them with. So it's a short period, but it's been productive so far.
And these are guys you want to develop some element of leadership in. Is that fair to say?
Well, I think they have that potential. That's one of the discussions that or part of a discussion that was had earlier today, is that there's a lot of different ways to lead, and I think at this point in their careers, we want them to really lead by example, be among the most prepared, hardest working, best teammates that they can be. And with experience, there may come a more vocal side to that for some. There may not for others. But we really want to encourage them to develop in their own style of leadership.
Josh mentioned them giving you guys feedback and you guys taking notes. Is there anything that you were like, God dang, I thought we were doing that already? Or
you see why I asked them the question, which I thought was a great question, and just in terms of anything that, from a constructive feedback standpoint, anything that we can do better, that they've noticed, or something that they need more of or less of from us. And I think one of the things that we've over the years kind of gone back and forth on is like we have a lot of information at this point, and where do you find that balance? What's the right amount of information to provide the players with, give them feedback that they can apply in their training without overwhelming them? And I think one of the things that we heard today was these guys want more. They want access to more of the information. They want to understand it, and certainly they want it at the stage where they're at now in the minor leagues, before they've kind of moved up through the system and have a chance to play in the big leagues, so that it's not a surprise when they get here. And that was one of the interesting kind of consistent themes today.
The past 40 days, you've kind of a unique perspective, being able to focus more on your minor leagues and guys who are not on the 40-man roster. That being said, Josh, the expectation is that he'll be in the big leagues at some point in 2022. How have you guys looked at that situation with where he is in his development, and when and how he can impact the big league team next year?
A little early for me to be able to say specifically. I mean, overall, we think very highly of him, and Josh is always impressed as somebody who's going to take advantage of every resource that he has at his disposal. I mean, he has a genuine curiosity and a desire to improve, and it's not. I don't think that's just he's not saying what you want to hear. I mean, you see it in how he acts and the kind of things that he researches on his own, and I mean, he has as much drive to improve himself as any of the young guys that we've been around. So ultimately, he's going to be in a great spot. The timing of that is just too early to say.
So,
sorry.
Go ahead, Dan.
Is this Josh Jung related? Because I left him. So.
Yes.
Okay, go.
So, in regards to Josh, it's been probably over a decade since you had an age-appropriate hitter at that level have the kind of offensive numbers that he had. And I'm just wondering, like, is he separated from other guys that have gone to camp in the past with a chance to win a starting job? Is there a higher level of confidence in his ability? How would you evaluate that?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of the best way to frame it. I mean, I think kind of similar to the last question. I mean, much like he's taken advantage of the resources, I think he's met the challenges, as we've gone along. And that's not to say that there aren't some, that are going to, create some challenges and opportunity and adversity that he hasn't faced yet. I mean, that's the great part about the game, and I think ultimately his drive and competitiveness will lead him through that. But as far as like kind of speculating on where he's going to open or those sort of things, I'm not ready to do that yet.
But he's just in a different position than other guys in terms of meeting the challenge performance-wise.
Yeah, I mean he's done very well. Yeah.
So Josh Smith is one of the guys that you invite here, plays shortstop, second base. You guys just signed two MFers to play those positions for a long time. Him, Boston, a lot of other guys, some of them aren't allowed to talk about, but how do you kind of view you've got quite a few middle infielders now behind those two guys. How do you view that situation, generally speaking? Is it a matter of they pick up an outfielder's glove, or what's your...
Maybe in time. We haven't asked any of them to move positions yet. I mean, I think it's a natural possibility that we will, just given some of the moves that we've made. But I know we've expressed it to Josh in particular that he's in our plans, and we believe he has the opportunity to earn that. I think is a better way to put it. But there may come a time where we do ask these guys to try different positions. I think ultimately, like how they handle themselves, how they swing the bat and perform, and then their defensive versatility will give them opportunities to impact the club.
Did you sit in on all the meetings today?
No, I did not. No.
So like I think one thing Josh was talking about when you talk about information, he was talking about the one of the meetings they had with Donnie. I don't know if you were in there for that.
I wasn't, no.
But I mean, those are the kinds of things that he likes to absorb, that those players are absorbing, is more information. They want the kind of information that was being given to them in these meetings.
Yeah, that's what they've expressed to us, and that was part of the goal of this, was just to give them an idea of what they're going to see when they get here. Now, our hope is that we're going to continue to kind of standardize the types of information, the types of prep that, the types of game planning that they're going to do throughout the system, so that it's similar, but it's still, the quality of the information, the consistency of the information, it's different at this level.
I don't want to get ahead of ourselves with Jack right here, but now that he's kind of taking a step back from schooling and kind of fully immersing himself into professional ball, what do you kind of envision these next couple of years looking like for him?
And very similar to when we drafted him, when he signed, that obviously he's a high opinion of his talent, high opinion of his drive and competitiveness, and but he hasn't played a professional game yet. So I think it's I applaud the fact that he went back to school here in the fall and was able to maintain his training, and I think as we get into camp and ultimately get the season going, we'll have a much better be in a much better spot to address that.
And he said you guys were keeping in touch, texting, Zooms, all of that. I guess how often was that communication with him while he was in Nashville?
I'm not certain as far as everybody else. So I have to ask. I know he came out, I believe, once out to Arizona, but I'm not sure how often that he was texting with you guys.
What are you guys doing when you're not talking to minors? Just sitting around playing checkers?
Mostly. Yeah. I mean, there's always a heavy emphasis on staffing in the off season. I think because of the way the calendar fell, it changed a little bit this year. It was a more of a kind of personnel focus in November than there had been in recent years. So there's quite a bit of staffing done in December. And then, with the moves that we made, there's a lot of work to be done just to get everybody on the same page and onboarded and integrated. And we're still working on that, quite frankly. We've had changes in the front office, on the PD side, and the big league staff, and there's quite a bit of work and communication to getting everybody set and prepared and you're ready for 2022.
Is there on the minor league coaching staff, like Hagen and Kenny Switch, is there anything?
I think it's a great opportunity for both guys. I think it really, the hope is that it takes advantage of their skill sets and they both managed before, they both coordinated before. So I think they're both in position to make a pretty big impact for us this year.
And the one question I had on the minor league staffs is it looks like, particularly at Round Rock, staff has grown. I mean, it's a larger staff, and I think at Frisco you're going to be larger in coaching staff too. I don't know if you can explain like what the role of the development coach will be, but just the thought process on more staffing and, if you can, like some kind of job description on what a development coach is.
Yeah, one of the things that Ross and Josh felt was important, and CY and I, the rest of the group, certainly agree, was to have guys with varying skill sets at the affiliates to complement what the manager's doing, the hitting coach is doing. We have, including guys that are hurt, you might have 15 players there, and to have one or two position player coaches with you might not have somebody with a catching background, and you'll have coordinators come through, but the day-to-day development is largely done by the staff there. And as with all the resources that we have, we want our players to be able to take advantage of it. We felt that we would better prepare them with more people on the ground to help them with that.
So, like, I mean, at Round Rock with Chase there, you've essentially got two hitting coaches there, just like you would in the big leagues. Right?
And Chase is, he's capable of a lot. And,
Right.
and I think one of the other things.
I'm not trying to sell him short.
No, but that kind of goes. He has a hitting background, but he's also, he's a veteran, baseball person, and I think one of the other things, CY is a way of looking at it where he talks about how all of our coaches should be extensions of our mental skills program, and so I think by having the added staff there, the added resource, it's other programs that we can help disseminate through the system.
Seems like some of these guys don't have big league or professional experience, like working on a pro staff.
Yeah, some do, some don't.
Yeah.
And we tried to have a balance, at the different affiliates. Some have worked in pro ball, but have been on, more of at a complex level. Some have come from the college level. It was really about their kind of individual skill sets and backgrounds.
You don't have a complex league manager yet, or you have that, you just haven't named it.
Yeah, we just have some other. We'll probably have another announcement as we get closer.
Okay.
You guys made the front office moves earlier this year. It was, if I get this wrong, then I look really stupid, but I think it was Ross, that's Jamaica, that was kind of in charge of sort of a mental skills something, right? Like
Ben Baruti is.
Ben, I'm sorry,
yeah.
it wasn't Ross, it was Ben.
Yeah.
How heavily did Ben weigh on these? Here you discussed the way that these coaching staffs are coordinated. I mean, how much was he involved in that process?
Yeah, he had a real voice, and as we built out the mental skills program, Ben's been at the forefront of that, and really this week with the leadership camp, Ben's been heavily involved.
Okay.
Do you guys also have a roadmap you'd like to take when those lockout ends, as far as the continued acquisition of major league talent?
We have some ideas on that, yeah, but we'll wait to address that.
Is it just too hard to do it because you don't know what's going to happen after?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, all of our conversations are internal, so we'll address that down the line.
I had one more question about today. No knock on Dustin Harris. Yes, Dustin
Harris.
Yeah, Harris. I'm having a great day today. He'd asked me who was going to get invited to the leadership camp. I don't know that he would have been one of the guys that I would have guessed. What is it about him that caught your attention and got you invited?
I think first and foremost, I mean, he was I think very highly of him. He was our player of the year. He's made adjustments very quickly, and as we talk to staff that's been around him, they just rave about him as one of the best teammates we've got. So, and we thought that it was appropriate. We felt he'd earned that spot.
Dumb question. Why only? And I know it was going to be 8. It's 6. Why such a small group?
I think just more intimate conversations. More, it allows for it to be a conversation instead of a lecture, which is really the goal. Is to have, 2, 3, 4 staff with 3 or 4 players, and to have good conversation, a little more one-on-one, back and forth, rather than a classroom setting.
And all that. I mean, all that said, right? You had your whole staff here, all the big league staff, right?
No.
Not all. Okay. What does it say about? Like I asked Owen about this, right? His year started with him, making a mistake out of competition, but it was a mistake, and that example was brought up to him as he rehabbed and everything. What's it say for him to go from that to being part of this leadership group after the fall he had and everything else, and to be part of that nucleus?
Well, I think he learned from it. I think he learned that the difference between kind of like utilizing your emotion, from a competitive standpoint versus being emotional, and the information we got from the rehab group in Arizona. I mean, the feedback there, and then obviously what he did in the fall league was all very, very positive. So, listen, we're all going to make mistakes. We all make them regularly. I think it's what you learn from it, and he's demonstrated that.